I would never have believed that people would fat shame my poor wife Doris like this in the middle of the day, just because she was overweight. After so many years of failed diets, fake miracle pills, and excruciating hours spent at the gym, my wife was now exhausted and at the end of her rope. Look, this is me now. I can't hide this anymore. How can you still love me? Wish I could help her. But when the doctors told me that I was morbidly obese and had to spend the few months I had left on this earth confined to a wheelchair, I thought, this is it. There's nothing else we can do. But why am I sharing this tragic story with you today? Well, because as it turns out, it's anything but tragic. Because a true miracle changed our lives. A mind-blowing simple daily habit, which has allowed me to lose more than 28 pounds in no time, and help my wife completely get rid of all the extra fat she carried around her belly, melt the love handles around her waist, and tone her flabby arms and legs. And best of all, we didn't count calories or weight and measure. We didn't set foot in a gym for a second. And most importantly, we didn't diet at all. In fact, we both continued to eat our favorite foods and still managed to lose weight even while sleeping. And the good news is, you can do it too. Because whatever you may have been told by your doctor, weight loss gurus, or the mainstream media, in a few moments, I'll show you a major discovery, which has already changed the lives of tens of thousands of overweight people, that can effectively suppress appetite, stop food addiction, and help anyone burn extra pounds at an accelerated rate while transforming fat into pure energy. A discovery so powerful and effective, which has been deliberately kept from you, but what I believe is a corrupt and dishonest big food industry hell-bent on profiting from your misery. Now, let me tell you what this state-of-the-art, unique fat loss discovery is not. It is not a drug. It is not a pill. And it's definitely not magic. Instead, it's a solution based on decades of nutritional science coming from Stanford, Harvard, and many other respectable institutions. Scientifically proven to work even if you're struggling with 30, 40, or even 60 pounds of unwanted, stubborn fat. And the best part, it's fast, natural, and completely safe. So far, more than 74,000 women and men just like you can fully vouch this shortcut to weight loss really, really works. People like Carla M. of Charlotte, North Carolina, who says,
I can't believe that my doctor never told me about this. He insisted surgery was the only option that I had. But when I finally found out about this from a friend, I realized he was straight up lying to me. Basically, this brought my weight to where it was 30 or 35 years ago. No more flabby belly, no more loose and crepey skin, and no more oversized dresses.
Or James B. from Syracuse, New York, who says,
this is truly a game changer. None of that fake stuff that's sold all over Amazon, which frankly for me never worked. So far, I've lost over 30 pounds, and I'm just getting started. My blood pressure, my cholesterol, and my general health are now fantastic. I'm in better shape now than I was 20 years ago, and I actually have visible abs for the first time in my life.
Or Christine from Santa Ana, California, who says,
I was cursed with a huge belly and flabby arms all my life. Not anymore.
Or Andrew from Lincoln, Nebraska, who says,
I have lost so much fat, it is absolutely crazy. Now I feel in top shape every day.
Or Danielle from Plano, Texas, who says,
I cry with joy every time I look at these pictures. My husband is still stunned by my transformation.
Or Jeremy from Columbus, Ohio, who says,
everyone should try this, and I mean it. I've never looked better in my entire life.
Even honest scientists are thrilled by this. Here's what Professor Jonathan Robert, independent health researcher and weight loss expert, has to say.
After carefully reviewing the scientific evidence presented, I must say that I have never seen such a revolutionary approach when it comes to dealing with weight loss. Indeed, in my opinion, everyone should take advantage of this if they struggle with losing weight.
These transformation stories could be your story. And today, I'm going to present you all the undeniable scientific evidence that proves this is 100% possible, no matter what your desired weight goal is. And answer the most burning question any man or woman suffering from weight gain problems might have. What is the fastest way I can lose 10, 20, or even 30 pounds of fat and keep it off? How do I stop giving into temptation? How can I burn fat without giving up my favorite food? And last but not least, how come some people never get fat no matter what they eat? And I promise you this, Once you'll find out how ridiculously simple it is to lose weight, you're going to feel the difference right away. And you'll wish you'd used this years ago. And just imagine the difference this could make. Imagine cranking up your metabolism to where it's burning fat all the time. When you sleep, after you eat, when you're watching TV, or just hanging out with your family or friends. Imagine how much more energy you'll have and more confidence in the way you look. No more worrying about others judging you. No more yo-yo dieting. No more blaming yourself for how you look. How's that sound? Today, you can finally get back in control of your weight. But I have to warn you, if you suffered from long-term weight gain for years, if you don't want to end up paying more than $20,000 for dangerous weight loss surgeries, if you're sick and tired of feeling embarrassed in public and being the laughingstock of mean people, you need to take action right now. You see, whatever you've been told about being fat, it's far worse than you think. Getting fat is something which in fact happens against your will. And right now, you're being tricked, deceived, and lied by everybody who wants to profit from your pain and struggle. This will end today, as I'm going to make your blood boil with anger once I'll expose how the big food industry has turned you into a helpless food addict. Hint, it has to do with something despicable they put in your favorite food. Now, if you're a little skeptical about all this, I completely understand. I've been in your shoes. I know how it feels. Conventional diet, eating, and weight loss advice has failed me so many times, and it's my only mission to stop it from failing you. That's why you need to know the truth. No matter how painful it is, it's your life on the line. But before we get into that, let me first introduce myself and explain why I decided to share this life-saving information with you. Hello, my name is Matthew Harris. I'm an independent investigative journalist, and for the past 20 years or so, I have fought hard to expose high-level corruption cases, money laundering, and the nefarious practices of the big pharma and big food industries. And while I've always put the public's interest above everything else, I've made one crucial mistake. I've never really taken care of my health. So almost half of my life, I've suffered from weight gain. Not only me, but also my beautiful wife, Doris, who at one point was gaining around 2 pounds of fat every other week. Luckily, our 2 young kids were still slender and full of energy. But for me and my wife, it was like every morning we would wake up even fatter than the night before. And even more so after those 2 darn years of pandemic. With all the stress and problems going on, unknowingly we started to eat more. It sounds pathetic, I know, but over time, food has become my best friend. It's comforting. It doesn't talk back to you. It tells you you're okay. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. And my life was getting worse day by day. I couldn't even go camping with my son and keep up with him because he's 120 pounds and he's a firecracker. So there was no way I could keep up with him. And that was eating me up inside. Even taking a shower became a difficult and disgusting task. You know how it is. With a lot of skin and flabs, fat hanging out everywhere, I would stand in different angles in the mirror and say, okay, not too bad. I was in complete denial. But one day, I felt something wrong going on with my heart. The chest pain was sharp. It left me gasping for air, almost paralyzed. I got scared. Finally, I went to see a doctor. After a series of long and expensive investigations, I looked over and down on my chart and saw the words, morbidly obese. That was spine-chilling and a true eye-opener. I had to do something immediately. So, with the help of an old friend of mine, Charles Roberts, I went to Stanford University's world-famous Human Performance Lab. This is the place where the top athletes of the world come to see how their bodies can perform better. There, among a dozen or so tests, I took a special DEXA scan to measure exactly how much fat, muscle, and bone mass I have in my body. Even the doctors were stunned when the results came in. It turned out that half of me was fat. It was like I was carrying around a dead body on me. The x-ray scan showing how my body looked inside was absolutely horrible. And if you're struggling with extra fat, you too can make a pretty accurate idea of your situations as well. There was so much fat inside of me that my internal organs literally started shifting. My heart was practically wrapped in visceral fat. And so were my liver, my spleen, and my lungs. And even though I was in my mid-40s when I took the breathing test, the experts told me I was breathing like an 85-year-old. Fat was literally choking up my body from the inside. The doctors warned me that if I didn't do something, I would soon become tied to a wheelchair for the rest of my life and then die. Imagine that. I didn't tell Doris anything. I didn't want to scare her. You see, my poor wife's situation was even worse. On her way home from the grocery store, she passes by this gym, and a lot of ripped men and women look at her with pity and disgust. "Go to fat camp, you ugly fat woman," someone yelled at my wife, and then literally spat in her face. People are that evil, and they always judge you by your looks. One evening, I caught my poor Doris crying as she was struggling to put on a nice dress she got as a present from our kids. But try as she might, the dress didn't fit her. It was bursting at the seams and clumps of fat were bulging everywhere. "Look, this is me now. I can't hide this anymore. How can you still love me? I wish I could just die already." I felt her pain, but I tried to hide mine. I gave her a gentle kiss and tried to cheer her up somehow. So I took out our old family photo albums and started reminiscing about the good old days. Our wedding, the birth of our kids, and all that. Then, with tears in her eyes, my wife asked me, "Dear, how did we get so fat? What did we do wrong?" It was a very good question. Looking at the pictures, the evidence was undeniable. As years passed by, we both got fatter and fatter. But why? That night I couldn't sleep at all. My mind was racing fast and asking a million questions. What was the thing that made us fat? Was there any real way to undo this? And if yes, how? What's puzzled me most is that year after year, we tried to do exactly what all the fitness gurus and experts recommended. Exercise, keep food journals, follow the latest diet, try the best Amazon supplements and powders. Yet more and more fat was coiling like a snake in our bellies, thighs, back, hips, arms, everywhere. So if we literally tried every trick in the book, and then some to lose weight, then why didn't we? According to a revealing study coming from the Harvard School of Public Health, the cases of accelerated weight gain have doubled over the last 25 years. Yet, the human body hasn't changed in the last 25 years, right? So what caused such a drastic upsurge of weight gain? There had to be something else. And boy, I was in for a big surprise. As I stumbled upon some old images of us at the beach in the 70s, both of us were looking prime. Our skin was firm, our muscles were toned, I didn't have fat belly, and Doris was looking absolutely gorgeous. Yet I can tell you one thing for sure. Back then, neither I nor my wife were doing much exercising, and we ate all the wrong foods. So how come we were not fat at all? Try as I might, I couldn't figure it out. Yet as I kept watching, I noticed something else truly incredible. Nobody, not a single person, was fat. It was like I was looking at an alien race where everybody was slim and fit no matter their age. Right then and there, my investigative gut told me I was onto something big, something huge. So for the next few weeks, I dedicated my time and resources to solve this mind-bending puzzle. But almost every explanation I could think of turned out to be untrue. Yet, the astonishing answer, which finally allowed me, my wife, my family, and thousands of other people just like you to finally get rid of all of our unwanted fat and regain our normal weight, came after I asked one seemingly stupid question. What was the diet of the 1970s when almost everybody was slim and fit? They were eating white bread and jam, ice cream and Oreos. They were not eating quinoa or kale. They were not counting calories, and they did not have fancy weight loss apps and trackers. As a matter of fact, they were not even really exercising much. These people were doing everything wrong. Yet there was no obesity. Why? Was it because they were eating less back then than we do today? Well, as a matter of fact, no. In fact, people were eating more in the 70s, but there's a huge, huge catch. After crunching dozens of national studies and government databases, I've discovered one crucial truth. Despite eating more, people back then were also eating differently. A nationwide study coming from the U.S. Department of Agriculture revealed something really bizarre regarding our modern eating habits. Now, we eat more chicken and less beef than we used to. Also, we consume on average 36 pounds of cooking oils every year. That's more than 3 times as much as we did in the early 70s. We're also eating a lot more cheese, 21.9 pounds a year. That's nearly 3 times the average annual consumption in 1970. We buy half the total potatoes, but 3 times more chips. We eat less sugar, but a lot more corn-derived sweeteners. More chicken, more cheese, more chips, and more artificial sweeteners. At first, I couldn't make any sense of this. Naturally, I asked myself, what made us change our eating habits? Is it because we're hungrier? Is it because we love chicken and cheese more than beef now? Or is it something more nefarious going on? Well, I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but the answer will scare you and make your blood boil with anger. You see, the shift in our eating habits has not happened by accident. Not at all. In fact, Dr. David Kessler, former head of the FDA, recently admitted this on CBS News. This was deliberately designed by big food companies. You see, there's one simple truth nobody is telling you. Food companies have a different objective than you do. They want you to buy a lot of their food, even if it's bad for you, even if it makes you gain weight, even if it makes your life miserable. That's why every year they pour $3.5 billion into research to come up with new ways to sell you tasty, quick, and above all, addictive food. Food that will make you eat more, as when Lay's bragged about the weekly addictive quality of its potato chips, advertising, bet you can't eat just one. That's why now we have a constant battle with the desire to overeat, because of the food designed to trick our brains. We've switched from eating because we're hungry to eat because our appetite is constantly aroused. This is called hyper-eating. Just put your hand on your stomach right now. If all you feel is just fat that you'd like to go away, then you've been taken for a fool by big food companies. But how? How did the food companies trick us to eat more? After weeks of research and talks with top nutritionists, and even off-the-record interviews with insiders and whistleblowers from the big food industry, here's the ugly truth. Chicken nuggets. We eat more than double than we did in the 70s. But why? Is it just because chicken is magically delicious? Well, not really. Let's see how they trick you into eating more chicken. First, the factory deep fries the chicken and freezes it, so the fat is loaded into the chicken meat. The restaurant fries them again, which doubles or even triples the loaded fat. Then, you serve the chicken with a sweet and salty dipping sauce. In the end, the chicken pieces are both loaded and layered with sugar on salt, on fat, on fat. Delicious? Yes, says your brain, which gets addicted to not one, but 3 dangerous and highly addictive ingredients: sugar, salt, and fat. How about potato chips? The core ingredient of the potatoes is carbohydrates, which is a fancy name for a bunch of addictive sugars joined in a chain. Cut into chips and deep fry them. Now you have fat loaded into them. Add some cheese, sprinkle lots of salt, and there you have it. Addictive salt on fat, on sugar, which again tricks your brain into non-stop eating. The manufacturer profits from your addiction, while you get stuck with cramps, bloating, and lack of energy that makes your life miserable, which it shouldn't be. The same goes with cheese, which now contains even more addictive salt, sugar, and fat than in the 70s. But let's say you don't eat cheese, you don't like chips, and you don't eat chicken. You'd think you'd be in the clear, right? Well, actually, no. Another way big food companies trick our brains into eating more is via artificial sweeteners, which are literally everywhere in today's food. In candy, ketchup, pudding, and canned food. They can also be found even in so-called healthy food, in whole grain bread, granola, Greek yogurt, and so on. According to researchers from George Washington University, roughly 3 in 4 packaged foods and drinks in the US now contain some kind of added sweetener. Besides being super addictive, they also may trick the brain into feeling hungry, especially if you're a woman, according to Dr. Kathleen Page, MD and Associate Professor of Medicine at University's Keck School. In other words, against your will, you may be developing an addictive habit of eating for 2 persons at the same time. That's truly horrible. And that's why trying to keep up a diet is an uphill battle. You're always going to lose. Imagine somebody hooked on cocaine trying to overcome their addiction by eating salad. That's nonsense, and I think you've got the point. Today, food companies have invested heavily in designing products that use addictive ingredients, such as sugar, fat, salt, or artificial sweeteners, which bypass our natural appetite control mechanisms and hypnotize us to eat more. And after they encourage us to eat all day long, they blame us for getting fat. It's your fault for eating all that bad food, they say. It's your fault because you're late eating or binging. It's your fault because you didn't keep up with the diet. Like you, I was a victim of these dishonest crooks myself. But I'm here to tell you one thing and one thing only. No, it's not your fault. So please stop blaming yourself for something they tricked you into. These corrupt food companies, executives with souls darker than midnight, want us to eat all the time so they can rack in higher profits and buy a bigger yacht. Meanwhile, we get fatter, we get sicker, we get more miserable. Fortunately, there is a simple way out of this. And in a minute, I'm going to show you how you can effortlessly end this dangerous food addiction, which alone can help you hit your wildest weight goal sooner than you may think. But first, please hear me out. What if I told you that you can go on a really high carb, high sugar, junk food filled diet and yet still lose weight? You'd say that I'm crazy, right? Well, in fact, this is how both me and my wife lost more than 40 pounds of toxic, stubborn fat with zero effort and zero restrictions. So if this makes me crazy, but it can make you slim, then yes, you could say I'm crazy. Let me explain. Have you ever heard of the infamous Twinkie diet? In 2010, Mark Howell, a well-respected professor of human nutrition at Kansas State University, set out to prove something seemingly impossible, that you can lose fat no matter what kind of food you eat. To do this, Mark went on a crazy 10-week junk food diet. We're talking stuff like Twinkies, Little Debbie cakes, Doritos, Oreos, you name it. Guess what happened? He lost over 27 pounds and his body fat dropped from 33% to 24%. He slashed his bad cholesterol by 20% and reduced blood fat almost by half. So how did he manage to lose so much weight? Without any special exercise or special diets? Was this just a lucky fluke? A 1 in a million event? Well, not at all. Many other people going on weird or extreme diets manage to lose insane amounts of unwanted fat every single day. Fast food. A high school science teacher from Iowa lost 37 pounds in 90 days by eating only McDonald's food. Potatoes. This guy, who you can check on YouTube, went from 334 pounds to 117 pounds after eating, yes, just potatoes. Pizza. For 222 days, this man ate over 320,000 calories worth of delicious deep dish pizza. Look how great he looks. Ice cream. This guy went from 192 to 160 pounds in 14 weeks while eating 2,000 calories worth of ice cream every day. So how can someone lose so much fat, all while eating the foods that were supposedly to be having the opposite effect? Are these people more special? Well, as a matter of fact, yes. They have something you don't yet. An unfair advantage. Something which you could say forbids fat to form, no matter what or how much you eat. Something which I'm about to reveal in just a couple of very short minutes. So you can benefit from it and lose an insane amount of fat and completely change your life. So what makes them so special to eat whatever they want and still lose weight? Try as I might, I had to admit I couldn't crack this by myself. I needed help. So, with all the mountains of research and evidence I gathered, I once again turned to Charles Robert, the one who helped me with the test at Stanford University's world-famous Human Performance Lab. You see, Charles wasn't just a lifelong friend, scientist, and a specialist in weight loss with more than 20 years' experience collaborating as an independent medical researcher with top universities from all over the world. He was also at the end of his career, suffering from an incurable disease which gave him just a couple of years to live, maybe. I explained all about my discoveries regarding the eating habit switch from the 70s nobody in the mainstream media talks about. I told him about all my findings regarding the addictive substances crammed in today's diet. And of course, I asked him, how come some people who went full on junk food diets not only did not put on any extra pounds of fat, but instead managed to lose tons of weight? He smiled understandingly and told me, I'm at the end of my career, and soon I will pass away. This is life, so I might as well share my secret with you, as they cannot hurt me anymore. I was very intrigued. What was he talking about? Then, Charles told me something that would change my life forever. The secret of all these people who ate tons of junk food, yet still magically lose weight, is in fact no secret at all, but in fact is the effect of a group of rare and special substances and amino acids these people are naturally blessed with, which boost up their metabolism and allow them to transform fat into energy. Therefore, no matter how much they eat, they keep their body weight in perfect balance. And while 99% of the normal people unfortunately lack these high-octane substances in their bodies, The good news is that anyone can take the shortcut and add them to their diet and achieve the same results. A faster metabolism, which would help you burn more calories even while at rest. He also admitted that today's food is purposefully designed to be highly addictive and trick people into eating more. But then he told me that in fact, scientists have already found a group of special ingredients which tell the brain directly to stop the sensation of hunger. Basically, this would mean that anyone can easily and effortlessly eat no more and no less than their body requires without excruciating diets or extra willpower. This was truly incredible. But that was not all. Since Charles had nothing more to lose anyway, he told me about other incredible ingredients as well, which can power up the body to burn excess fat 24/7, suppress food cravings for good, and can help anyone maintain a perfect weight for years, if not decades. All this sounded too good to be true, and in some respect, it was. As Charles added that all these powerful and effective fat-burning ingredients cannot be patented by any company or anyone. So there's no way for a pharmaceutical company to profit from any of these natural substances, unless they chemically alter it and turn it into a drug, and the FDA approval process can take anywhere from 10 to 15 years. This is why the big weight loss industry spends billions of dollars every year suppressing the release of natural treatments, blocking research and incentivizing the medical profession to dish out drugs which do absolutely nothing when it comes to weight loss, rather than encouraging them to recommend effective, fat-burning natural ingredients that work for us, not against us. It all finally made sense. But why hadn't any doctor or weight loss guru told me about this before? Why wasn't it in the news? Why weren't the U.S. Department of Health or Weight Watchers or any other of the hundreds of organizations that claim to be dedicated to help us lose weight and improve our life and health shouting this from the rooftops? And then Charles opened my eyes one more time. Money. Everybody benefited from us getting fat. And the awful truth is that we pay twice for being obese. First, when we buy that junk food, and later, when our health suffers. Naturally, I was angry, disgusted even. After all, the people we rely on to make us healthy were only interested in profiting from our pain and misery. When, as Charles told me, there was an undeniable scientific proof that, in fact, there already existed a group of safe, effective, and 100% natural ingredients that can help anyone lose stubborn fat, no matter how overweight they are. Charles was as generous as I could have hoped, and decided to share all his knowledge with the world before he would pass away. Next, using all of his cutting-edge expertise, we spent almost a full year developing a sophisticated 3-stages fat loss solution based on his unique and secret natural ingredients formula. At Charles's recommendation, both me and my wife started taking the powerful fat-burning mix. Indeed, it was like something I've never tried. It wasn't a pill. It wasn't a horrible tasting powder either. And faster than I ever thought possible, I almost couldn't recognize myself in the mirror. I've lost more than 28 pounds and I felt amazing. I didn't count calories like a madman. I didn't weigh myself every hour. And most important, I didn't diet. I ate whatever I wanted until I was completely full, and that was it. All my food addictions were now gone. I really felt great. I slept like a baby throughout the night, and I was amazed by how much more energy I had day after day. Of course, I retook the DEXA scan, and the results left the doctors in shock. Almost all the visceral fat wrapping around my kidneys, lungs, and heart was now gone. But what made me really happy were the results experienced by Doris. All the extra fat she carried around her belly, the love handles around her waist, the double chin, and the flabby arms were now completely gone as well. I never thought this would be possible. But her life was now completely changed. Not only was she healthier, looked slimmer, and was losing more weight every day, but finally she had more confidence in the way she felt and looked. And even though she had a busy schedule with being a mom and a full-time job, Doris told me she felt at least 20 years younger. Of course, I needed to know if this was just some kind of fluke. So with the help of my son, Alex, I created a private website and visited weight loss forums and support groups, inviting anyone who wanted to be slim again to put the solution to the test themselves. In 7 days, I had 478 volunteers practically begging me to take part in the trial. The results? Well, they completely blew me away. Without exception, All 478 volunteers reported dramatic weight loss results. Men and women alike began sending us astonishing pictures with incredible transformations, losing 10, 15, 17, or even 20 pounds in record time, slashing their body fat from 20% to 15%, trimming the waistline with 10, 15, 20, or even 30 inches. Charles could barely believe it, and checked and rechecked the results over and over. Most scientists are thrilled if they see positive changes in 70 to 80% of patients, but we have achieved an almost 100% success rate, faster than we could have ever imagined. I received hundreds of emails and phone calls, not just from the US, but from all over the world: England, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and so on. Men and women as young as 16 to as old as 83 who were desperate to share their success stories and thank me for what I'd done. At that moment, I knew we couldn't keep this under wraps any longer, and I haven't. After seeing the horrible effect high body fat had on me and my wife, I've made it my life's mission to ensure that no one else has to suffer at the hands of obesity ever again. It took me over 6 months to find the best manufacturers in the industry, traveling the world looking for the highest quality, most effective ingredients.